The stars looked cold through the viewport. Captain Taman watched them while his crew prepared the ship for landing. They were 3 days from the peace talks and everything felt wrong. He couldn't explain why. Just a feeling in his gut that wouldn't go away. "Captain, we're approaching the neutral zone checkpoint," Lieutenant Jiwoo said from the communications station. Her fingers moved quickly over the controls. "Should I send the clearance codes?" Taman nodded. "Send them, and keep scanning for any unusual activity." Behind him, Sergeant Haru checked the weapon systems one more time. The big man never trusted peaceful missions. "All quiet on sensors, sir." No other ships in range. That should have made Taman feel better. It didn't. Ambassador Kyung-soo entered the bridge, straightening his formal robes. The older man smiled with confidence. "Captain, you look worried." "The Vrin have agreed to these talks. Everything will be fine." "I hope you're right, Ambassador," Taman replied. His hand moved to the scar across his left eye without thinking. An old habit from an old wound. The same border skirmish that killed his wife and daughter 5 years ago. He joined the military after that, hoping to prevent more families from suffering like his did. Private Da-un, their medic, brought coffee to the bridge crew. The young woman looked nervous. This was her first diplomatic mission. "Do you think we'll actually see a Vrin queen?" she asked quietly. "Probably not," Jiwoo laughed. "Queens don't usually meet with humans. We're too small for them to notice." The ship shuddered. Red lights flashed across every console. "Weapons lock," Haru shouted. "Multiple targets appearing from nowhere." Taman grabbed the command console. "Evasive action." Jiwoo get a message to Fleet Command. 3 massive warships materialized around them. Vrin design, but their hull markings were wrong. These weren't official military vessels. The ships opened fire before anyone could react. The first blast tore through their port engine. The second hit the communications array. Jiwoo screamed as her console exploded in sparks. Taeyun rushed to help her, but another explosion threw them both to the floor. "Ambassador, get to the escape pods." Taemin yelled over the alarms. Kyung-soo stumbled toward the exit, but the corridor beyond erupted in flames. The old man fell back, his robes catching fire. Haru grabbed an extinguisher, but it was too late. The ambassador was gone. "Hull breach on decks 3 and 4. The computer announced calmly while everything burned around them. Taemin fought with the controls, trying to reach the nearby moon. If they could land, they might survive. "Haru, reroute all power to the remaining engine." "Already on it, sir." Another blast hit them. The ship spun wildly. Through the chaos, Taemin saw Jiwoo floating near her destroyed console, not moving. Daeun was trapped under debris, unconscious. Haru worked frantically at his station even as blood ran down his face. "Captain, I can't hold it together," Haru shouted. "The ship is breaking apart." Taemin made his decision. "Get to the emergency pod." "That's an order, Sergeant." "Sir, I can't leave." "Go! Someone needs to survive to tell them what happened." Haru hesitated for just a moment, then nodded. He pulled Da-un free from the debris and dragged her toward the pods. Taemin stayed at the controls, fighting to keep the ship from exploding long enough for them to escape. The moon's surface rushed up to meet them. Taemin barely had time to strap himself in before impact. The ship hit hard, bounced, and then plowed through rocky ground for what felt like forever. Metal screamed. Systems failed one by one. Then everything went dark. When Taemin woke up, he was in pain. His left arm was broken. Blood covered his face from a cut on his forehead. The emergency lights gave everything a red glow. He unbuckled himself and fell to the floor with a grunt. The bridge was destroyed. Everything was either burning or broken. He searched for survivors, already knowing what he would find. Jiwoo was still at her station, gone. Haru's pod bay showed green lights. He had made it out. But Daeun's pod had never launched. The crash had jammed the doors. Taemin found her in the wreckage, barely breathing. He pulled her free and carried her away from the ship just as the reactor started failing. They made it 50 meters before the explosion knocked them down. When the dust settled, Taemin dragged himself and Da-un behind some rocks. He checked her pulse. Still alive, but barely. He used his emergency medical kit to stabilize her, doing what he could with one working arm. The moon was cold and empty, rocks and dust in every direction. Taemin activated his emergency beacon, knowing it probably wouldn't reach anyone. Their communications were destroyed, and they were in neutral space. No one would be looking for them here. He went back to the wreckage when he was sure Da-un wouldn't die immediately. He needed to understand what happened. The attacking ships had disappeared as quickly as they appeared. Why attack a diplomatic convoy? It made no sense. In the ruins of the communication station, he found Jiwoo's backup data logs. The system had automatically recorded everything. He pulled the data core free and plugged it into his portable reader. What he saw made his blood run cold. The attack had been coordinated. The ships used codes that identified them as part of a Vryn faction, but the codes were old. Outdated by decades, someone was trying to make this look like an official Vryn attack while hiding their true identity. But there was more. The moon they crashed on wasn't random. The navigation data showed their attackers had pushed them here deliberately. Why? Taemin explored the crash site more carefully. That's when he saw them. Strange structures half buried in the dust. Vryn architecture, ancient and weathered. This place had once been important to them. He found a partially intact building and went inside. The walls were covered in symbols. Even without understanding the language, he could tell this was a sacred place. And everywhere he saw the same crest repeated, 3 stars above a crown. Something about the place felt familiar. Impossible since he'd never been here. Never even been in Vryn space before. But as he walked through the ancient halls, memories that weren't his own flickered at the edge of his mind. A woman with eyes like broken mirrors. A battle under red skies. The taste of death and the warmth of goodbye. Taemin shook his head, clearing the strange thoughts. The crash must have affected him worse than he thought. He was about to leave when his portable scanner detected something. A ship approaching. A big one. He rushed back to Daewon and pulled her deeper into cover. The ship that descended through the atmosphere was massive. A Vryn dreadnought easily a kilometer long. It landed near the crash site with incredible precision. Doors opened. Vryn soldiers emerged, each one 3 meters tall with armor that seemed grown rather than built. They moved with insect-like grace, spreading out to secure the area. Then she appeared. Even from a distance, Taemin knew she was important. Taller than the others, her armor shimmered with colors he didn't have names for. She moved with authority that made the soldiers look like children. A queen. He was looking at an actual Vryn queen. She walked directly toward his hiding spot. Taemin held his breath, holding Daewon close. The queen stopped just meters away. Her head turned slowly, scanning the area with compound eyes that caught every detail. When those eyes found him, Taemin felt something strange. Recognition. Not just that she had spotted him, but something deeper. Something that shouldn't be possible. The queen froze. Her soldiers stopped moving, confused by their leader's sudden stillness. She stared at Taemin with an expression he couldn't read on her alien face. Then she spoke. One word in a language he didn't know but somehow understood anyway. Kael'vor. The name hit him like a physical blow. Memories that weren't his own flooded his mind. A battlefield. This queen, younger but unmistakable, holding someone who looked like Taemin, screaming his name as he died in her arms. Taemin's vision blurred. The last thing he saw before passing out was the queen reaching for him with movements that were somehow gentle, despite her terrifying size. Everything went dark. Taemin woke up in a room that didn't make sense. The walls curved like they were inside something living. Soft blue light came from everywhere and nowhere. The bed under him felt more like gel than fabric, adjusting to his body perfectly. His broken arm was healed. He touched his face and found the cut gone. Even the pain from his ribs had disappeared. He sat up slowly, looking around the strange room. A door opened with a sound like breathing. A Vryn soldier entered, stopping when it saw Taemin awake. The creature was massive up close, with armor that looked like metal but moved like skin. Its face had too many eyes and mouth parts that clicked when it spoke. A device on Taemin's wrist translated the clicking sounds into words. The queen wishes to see you, come. Taemin stood on shaky legs. My crewmate. The injured woman. Where is she? Being treated. She will survive. The soldier gestured toward the door. Come. The queen does not like waiting. The corridors outside were just as strange as the room. Everything looked organic, with surfaces that pulsed gently. Other Vryn moved through the halls, all stopping to stare at Taemin. Some with curiosity, others with what might have been anger. They entered a massive chamber. The ceiling stretched up so high it disappeared into darkness. In the center sat the queen on something that was part throne and part living tree. She was even more impressive up close. Her armor reflected light in patterns that hurt to look at directly. She had 4 arms, each ending in hands that could probably crush his skull easily. But it was her eyes that caught him. Dozens of faceted lenses that seemed to look through him instead of at him. The soldier bowed low and left. Taman stood alone before the queen, very aware of how small and fragile he was. "You know my language," the queen said. Her voice came from the translator, but also from somewhere deeper. A vibration in his bones. How? "I don't," Taman said honestly. "I don't understand what's happening." The queen rose from her throne and descended toward him. Each step made the floor vibrate slightly. She circled him slowly, examining him from every angle. Her movements reminded him of a predator deciding if something was food or threat. "You have his face," she said quietly. "His height. His scars are different, but the placement is similar. Your eyes are the same color. The same shape." She stopped in front of him. "Even the way you stand. Shoulders back, chin up, ready for anything." "I don't know who you think I am," Taman said, keeping his voice steady despite his fear. "My name is Taman. I'm a captain in the Human Federation military. My ship was attacked." "I know who attacked you," the queen said. "Traitors from my own empire. They wanted to start a war between our species. They have been dealt with. Then why am I here? Why not just return me to my people?" The queen was quiet for a long moment. When she spoke again, her voice was softer. 300 years ago, I had a consort. His name was Kalvor. He was not Vryn. His people were called the Asheri. They looked very much like humans. She pulled something from her armor, a small crystal that glowed with inner light. "This holds his memory. His image, watch." The crystal projected a hologram. A man appeared and Taman felt his breath catch. The man could have been his twin. Same height, same build, same facial structure. Even the way he smiled looked familiar. "Kalvor was the only non-Vryn to ever rule beside a queen," she continued. "He unified my people when we were divided. He was brave and clever and kind. He was my bonded mate for 200 years. The hologram changed, showing the man and the queen together. Despite their different forms, their affection was obvious. They moved in sync, anticipating each other's actions. "He died in battle," the queen said. The hologram showed a battlefield. The man covered in wounds, dying in the queen's arms. "I have ruled alone since then. 800 years total, 300 without him." The hologram faded. The queen put the crystal away. "I am called Nixara," she said, "Supreme Matriarch of 47 star systems. I have seen empires rise and fall. I have outlived every enemy. I thought nothing could surprise me anymore." She looked at him directly. "Then I found you." Taman's mind was racing. "You think I'm him? Some kind of reincarnation?" "I don't know what you are," Nixara admitted. "But when I saw you, when I heard your voice, when I watched you move." "For the first time in 3 centuries, I felt something I thought was dead." "Hope?" Taman guessed. "Fear," Nixara corrected. "Hope died with Kalvor. Fear that I might lose something again. That requires having something worth losing." She called for her guards. A different Vryn entered, older looking than the soldiers. Its armor was decorated with symbols of rank. "This is Commander Vextil," Nixara said. "He served under Kalvor 300 years ago." The old warrior studied Taman carefully. Its eyes showed recognition and confusion. "The resemblance is..." It started, then stopped. "Impossible." "Many things are impossible until they happen," Nixara said. "Taman will stay as my guest. He will be protected and honored. Anyone who harms him answers to me personally." "My queen," Vextil said carefully, "the council will not understand this. They already question your judgment about the human alliance. If they think you are being influenced by emotions, they can think what they wish," Nixara interrupted. "I have ruled for 8 centuries. I have earned the right to investigate a mystery without permission." Vexitil bowed and left, though his posture showed disagreement. Taimeen found his voice. "What about my crewmate, Dawn?" "She is being treated in our medical bay," Nixara said. "Our doctors are the best in the galaxy. She will recover fully." She paused. "The others from your ship did not survive. I am sorry." Taman felt the weight of that loss. Jiwoo Haru Ambassador Kyung-soo. Good people dead because someone wanted to start a war. Thank you for saving Dawn. And for being honest about the others. Kalvor valued honesty above all things, Nixara said. Then she caught herself. "I apologize. You are not him. I must remember that." "But you don't believe that," Taman said. "Do you?" Nixara moved to a window that showed the stars outside. "My people have legends. Stories of souls that return, of bonds that transcend death. I always thought they were just stories. Comfort for those who couldn't accept loss. She looked back at him. Now I don't know what to believe. Over the next few days, Taemin learned about life on a Vryn ship. The crew gave him space, but he felt them watching constantly. Some seemed curious, others hostile. A few looked at him with something like reverence, which was even more uncomfortable. Da-eun recovered quickly. When they reunited, she hugged him hard enough to hurt. "I thought we were dead, sir. How are we alive?" "Long story," Taemin said. "And it's about to get longer." He told her everything. About the Queen, about Kael'vor, about the impossible resemblance. Daeun listened without interrupting, her eyes getting wider. "So she thinks you're her dead husband reborn," Da-eun finally said. "She doesn't know what to think," Taemin corrected. "Neither do I. Do you feel like him? Like this Kael'vor?" That was the question that haunted Taemin, because the truth was complicated. Sometimes I have these moments, like memories that aren't mine. I'll look at Nixara and know things I shouldn't know. Her favorite color, the way she likes her meetings organized, small things that feel familiar. "That's impossible," Da-eun said. "Yeah," Taemin agreed. "Add it to the list." Nixara began visiting him regularly. At first, she just watched him, studying his movements and expressions. Then she started asking questions, testing him. "What was Kael'vor's favorite food?" she asked one day. Taemin opened his mouth to say he didn't know. Instead, different words came out. "Silver fruit from the northern gardens, prepared with honey and frost crystals." Nixara went very still. "How could you know that? Those gardens haven't existed for 200 years. "I don't know," Taemin said honestly. The answer just came to me. She asked more questions over the following days. Private things that only she and Kael'vor would know. Secret jokes. Memories from their time together. And every time Taemin answered correctly without knowing how. "This is impossible," Nixara said after one session. She looked shaken. "You can't know these things. Maybe your crystal showed more than you remember," Taemin suggested. "Maybe I saw those details somehow." "The crystal I showed you was a public record," Nixara said. "Sanitized for general viewing. The things you're remembering, I never told anyone. They were just between us." She stood and paced, all forearms moving in agitation. For someone so powerful, she suddenly looked vulnerable. "I buried him. I mourned him. I moved on, or I thought I did. Then you appear, and everything I convinced myself of for 3 centuries starts to crack." "I'm sorry," Taemin said. He meant it. Whatever was happening, he never wanted to cause her pain. "Don't be sorry," Nixara said. "Just be honest. When you remember these things, how does it feel?" Taemin thought carefully. "Like watching someone else's life through their eyes. I know the memories aren't mine, but they feel real. And when I'm with you..." He stopped, not sure he should continue. "Say it," Nixara urged. "When I'm with you, I feel like I've known you forever, like coming home after being lost. It doesn't make sense, but it's there." Nixara was quiet for a long time. When she spoke, her voice was barely a whisper. "Kael'vor used to say the same thing, that being with me felt like coming home." The weight of that hung between them. 2 people from different worlds, separated by species and time and debt. Dr. Shanira was different from the Vryn soldiers. Smaller, with armor that looked more like a lab coat than protection. Her compound eyes had a curious gleam as she examined Taemin with strange instruments. "Fascinating," she muttered, making notes on a floating display. "Absolutely fascinating. What's fascinating?" Taemin asked. He was lying on a table while she scanned him with devices he didn't understand. "Your genetic structure," Shanira said. "It shares markers with an ancient species called the Ashari. They disappeared from our records over 10,000 years ago. We thought they went extinct." "Kael'vor was Ashari," Nixara said. She stood nearby, watching the examination carefully. "Yes, my queen. And this human shares 47% genetic markers with Kael'vor's stored DNA." Shanira's mandibles clicked excitedly. "That shouldn't be possible. The Ashari were from a completely different part of the galaxy." "What are you saying?" Taemin asked, sitting up. "I'm saying humans might be descended from the Ashari, or at least share a common ancestor." Shanira pulled up a star map. "Look, the Ashari homeworld was here in what we now call the Dead Sector. Something destroyed it millennia ago, but if some Ashari escaped and traveled to Earth, they became human," Nixara finished. Evolution changed them over thousands of generations, but the core genetics remained. Taemin felt dizzy. So I'm not Calvor reborn. I'm just genetically similar. That doesn't explain the memories, Nixara pointed out. Genetics don't carry specific memories. Actually, Shanira said carefully, there are theories. Genetic memory is rare but documented in some species. If the Ashari had particularly strong genetic memory, and if Calvor's death was traumatic enough, she trailed off. You think his memory's imprinted on his genetic code, Nixara said. And because Taemin shares that code, he's accessing those memories. It's just a theory, Shanira cautioned. One that most scientists would call impossible. But then most scientists haven't seen what I've seen today. That night Taemin had the first real dream. Not a flash of memory, but something deeper. More complete. He was Calvor, young and confident, standing before a council of Vryn queens. The queens were arguing, ready to tear each other apart over territory and resources. He watched from the side, an outsider, an alien who had no right to be there. Then Nixara spoke. She was younger too, fierce and passionate. We waste our strength fighting each other while our real enemies circle like scavengers. Calvor's people died because they were divided. Should we make the same mistake? The other queens shouted her down. Too young, too idealistic, too willing to trust outsiders. But Calvor stepped forward. He spoke with words that weren't his own, knowledge that came from somewhere beyond himself. He told them about the ancient alliance between Vryn and Ashari, about bonds that transcended species, about a future where they stood together or fell apart. By the time he finished, half the queens were listening. Within a year, they were united. Within 2, they made him Nixara's consort. Within 5, the Vryn Empire was born. Taemin woke up gasping. The details were already fading. But the emotions remained. Pride, love, purpose. The feeling of being exactly where he was meant to be. Datwin found him in the observation deck later, staring at the stars. Bad dreams, sir? Strange dreams, Taemin corrected. He told her about it. She listened quietly, then sat beside him. You know what's weird? She said. You're handling this really well. If I suddenly had someone else's memories in my head, I'd be freaking out. Who says I'm not? Taemin tried to smile, but it felt hollow. Dawn, what if I'm losing myself? What if Calvor's memories keep getting stronger until there's nothing left of me? Then we'll find a way to stop it, she said firmly. You saved my life, Captain. I'm not letting some ghost steal you. The next day, Nixara took him to a place she called the Sanctum of Echoes. It was in a secure part of the ship, guarded by her best warriors. The room inside was filled with crystals, each one glowing softly. These are memory crystals, Nixara explained. Each one contains the preserved consciousness of deceased royalty. Our history, our knowledge, our essence. She walked to one crystal that shone brighter than the others. This is Calvor's. Taemin stared at the crystal. It was beautiful, colors swirling inside like a living thing. What happens if I touch it? Normally nothing. Only someone with royal blood or deep genetic connection can interact with them. Nixara's voice was careful. If you can activate it, we'll know for certain you carry Calvor's essence. And if I can't, then we find other answers. Taemin reached out slowly. His hand was shaking. Part of him didn't want to know the truth. Part of him was terrified of what he might find. His fingers touched the crystal. Light exploded through the room. The crystal blazed so bright everyone had to look away. Taemin felt energy surge through him, and suddenly he wasn't in the sanctum anymore. He was on a battlefield. Smoke and fire everywhere. Vryn warriors fighting against machines. Endless waves of machines that killed everything they touched. The devourers Calvor's memories supplied. They came from the darkness between stars. They destroyed the Ashari homeworld. Now they wanted Vryn Prime. Calvor fought alongside Nixara, protecting her flank while she commanded the battle. They moved together perfectly. 2 parts of one warrior. They were winning. Then the trap sprung. The machines had been hurting them, pushing them toward a kill zone. Energy weapons charged, enough power to vaporize everything in a kilometer radius. Calvor saw it before Nixara did. He shoved her out of the zone and took her place. The weapons fired. He didn't die instantly. That would have been mercy. Instead, he lay burning while his body failed piece by piece. Nixara reached him, cradling his head while tears fell on his face. Don't leave me, she begged. Please, we've barely started. We had 200 years, Calvor said. His voice was calm despite the pain. That's more than most get. He touched her face with a trembling hand. Promise me something. Anything. Don't close yourself off. Don't become cold. The universe needs your fire. I can't do this without you. You can. You will. His breathing was getting shallow. And maybe we'll find each other again, somehow, some way. Those were his last words. Nyxara held him until he was gone, then carried his body from the battlefield herself. That night, 3 queens challenged her rule, thinking grief made her weak. She killed all 3 before dawn. No one challenged her again. Taemin came back to the present with tears on his face. He was on his knees, the crystal still blazing in his hand. Nyxara was beside him, also crying. You saw it, she said. Not a question, all of it, Taemin whispered. His death. Your promise. The way he loved you so much he couldn't imagine a future without you in it. The crystal shouldn't have activated, Nyxara said. It's been dormant for 3 centuries. Even I can't access it anymore. But you... She looked at him with wonder and fear. You brought him back. Commander Vextil entered the sanctum, saw the blazing crystal, and froze. By the ancient stars! Get Dr. Shanira, Nyxara ordered. Now. The doctor arrived and immediately started scanning Taemin. Her instruments went wild. His neural patterns are synchronizing with the crystal. He's not just accessing memories. He's integrating them. What does that mean? Taemin asked. It means Kael'vor's consciousness is merging with yours, Shanira said. You're becoming something new. Not quite him, not quite you, but a synthesis of both. Can you stop it? Daeun asked. She had followed them, worried about her captain. I don't know, Shanira admitted. I've never seen anything like this. Taemin stood up, still holding the crystal. It had stopped blazing, but it pulsed in rhythm with his heartbeat. I don't want to stop it. Everyone stared at him. Kael'vor's memories aren't taking me over, Taemin explained. They're adding to who I am. His knowledge, his experiences, his love for the Vryn people, and especially for Nyxara. I can feel it all, but I'm still me. I'm still Taemin. How do you know? Nyxara asked softly. Because Kael'vor never met Daeun, never served in human military, never lost a family to violence, and spent 5 years trying to prevent it from happening to others. Taemin looked at Nyxara directly. Kael'vor's memories are part of me now, but his story ended 300 years ago. Mine is still being written. Nyxara approached him carefully. And what do Kael'vor's memories tell you about me? That you're lonely, Taemin said. That you've been ruling with ice around your heart because it's easier than feeling. That you've survived 3 centuries by not caring too much about anything. He paused. And that you're terrified I'll break through that ice and leave you vulnerable again. Nyxara's breath caught. Kael'vor could always see through me. I'm not here to replace him, Taemin said. I can't be who he was. But maybe I can help you remember who you were. Before the ice. For the first time since they met, Nyxara reached out and touched his face. Her hand was huge, careful, gentle. I don't know if I can do that. I don't know if I'm strong enough. You're the strongest person I've ever met, Taemin said. Both of me knows that. Commander Vextil cleared his throat. My queen, forgive me, but we have a problem. Counselor Thexan has heard about the human. He's calling an emergency. Taemin couldn't sleep. His mind kept going back to the ambush, to the ships that attacked them. Something about it bothered him, like an itch he couldn't reach. He made his way to the storage bay where his ship's wreckage had been brought. Daeun found him there at 3 a.m, sorting through burnt debris. Captain, you should be resting, she said. I can't stop thinking about the attack, Taemin said. It was too precise. They knew exactly where we'd be, when we'd be vulnerable, and how to make it look like an official Vryn strike. You think someone planned it? I know someone planned it. He pulled out the data core he'd recovered from Jiwoo's station. I've been going through this. The ships that attacked us used old Vryn military codes that were retired decades ago. Daeun frowned. So someone had access to old military databases. That could be anyone with enough clearance. Not anyone. Taemin pulled up the data on a portable display. These specific codes were only used by one Vryn fleet. The 3rd expansion fleet commanded by... He traced back through the records. Counselor Thexan's family? The same counselor who wants you dead. The same one. Taemin continued digging. And look at this. The moon we crashed on wasn't random. Our navigation was altered during the attack, pushing us toward that specific location, a place that was once a royal Vryn site important to Queen Nyxara and Kael'vor. Why would they do that? Taemin pulled up more files. historical records from centuries ago. Because that's where Kael'vor died, or at least where the official records say he died. I thought he died in battle against the Devourers. The public record says that. But I have Kael'vor's memories now, and they tell a different story. Taemin's voice was grim. He didn't die fighting machines. He was poisoned. By someone he trusted. Dayun's eyes widened. You think Thexon's ancestor killed Kael'vor? I think someone did. And I think Thexon knows about it. Taemin gathered the evidence. We need to show this to Nyxara. They found the queen in her private chambers. Commander Vextil stood guard outside and looked surprised when they requested entry. The queen does not receive visitors at this hour, Vextil said. She'll want to see this. Taemin insisted. Trust me. Something in his tone made Vextil hesitate. Then he spoke into his communicator. A moment later the doors opened. Nyxara's chambers were simpler than Taemin expected. Less throne room, more living space. She stood by a window looking at the stars. When she turned to face them, she wasn't wearing her formal armor. She looked smaller somehow, more vulnerable. Taemin, she said. What's wrong? He explained everything he'd found. The old codes, the deliberate crash site, the historical inconsistencies. As he talked, Nyxara's expression grew darker. I've suspected for years that Kael'vor's death wasn't what the records claimed, she said quietly. But I could never prove it. And after 3 centuries, I thought it didn't matter anymore. It matters, Taemin said, because whoever killed Kael'vor is trying to kill you now. The ambush on my ship, the push for war with humanity, Thexon's sudden political moves. It's all connected. Thexon wants the throne, Vextil said. He had entered after them, listening carefully. He's been building support among the war faction for decades. If he can make Nyxara look weak or compromised, then the council will remove her, Dawn finished. And he takes over. Nyxara moved to a console and pulled up records. I've been tracking Thexon's activities. He's been meeting with extremist groups, gathering military forces, preparing for something. I thought he was just ambitious. But if he's working from a centuries-old plan, he's more dangerous than we thought, Taemin said. There's something else, Nyxara said. She pulled up a medical file. This is Kael'vor's autopsy report. The official one says he died from energy weapon wounds. But I kept my own copy, the real one. She displayed the data. He had massive organ failure consistent with Vexi poison, a substance that was only available to members of the royal court. You've known all this time? Vextil asked, shocked. I've suspected, Nyxara corrected, but I had no proof of who did it. And she paused. I was broken. After Kael'vor died, I couldn't think clearly for years. By the time I could investigate, all the evidence was gone, destroyed. Witnesses dead or disappeared. Someone covered it up, Taemin said. Someone with power and resources. Someone like Thexon's ancestor. Thexon's great-grandfather was chief medical officer at the time, Nyxara said. He had access to everything. He wrote the official autopsy report. The pieces were falling into place. A conspiracy spanning 3 centuries carefully maintained by one family. They had killed Kael'vor to break Nyxara, thinking a grief-stricken queen would be easy to control. When that didn't work, they waited, built power slowly, and now, with humanity entering the picture, they saw their chance. We need to expose this, Dawn said. Tell the council everything. They won't believe us, Vextil said. Not without solid proof. And Thexon has spent decades building his reputation. He'll say we're making up stories to discredit him. Then we need proof, Taemin said. Something undeniable. The memory crystal, Nyxara said suddenly.
Kael'vor's memory crystal.
It should contain his final moments, including his death. If we can extract that memory and show it to the council. That's forbidden, Vextil said. Memory crystals are sacred. Using them as evidence would violate 1,000 years of tradition. Kael'vor was murdered, Nyxara said, her voice sharp. And his murderer's descendant is trying to finish what was started. I think Kael'vor would forgive the violation. Taemin felt something stir in the memories he carried. Agreement. Yes, Kael'vor would want the truth known. Would want justice not just for himself but for Nyxara, for what was stolen from her. I can access the crystal, Taemin said. I proved that in the sanctum. Let me try to extract the memory. They returned to the Sanctum of Echoes. Dr. Shin'ira met them there, summoned by Nyxara. She looked nervous about what they were planning. This is dangerous, Shin'ira warned. Memory crystals aren't meant to be accessed this way. The strain on Taemin's mind could be severe. I'll be fine, Taemin said. He wasn't sure if that was true, but it didn't matter. This had to be done. He placed his hands on Kael'vor's crystal. This time he didn't just receive memories. He dove into them, searching for specific moments. The hours before Kael'vor's death, the memory came into focus. Kael'vor was in a strategy meeting with several Vryn officers, planning the defense against the Devourers. One of the officers was Thexan's great-grandfather, medical officer Raxvin. The meeting ended and Raxvin offered Kael'vor a drink, something to help with the stress of command. Kael'vor drank it. Within an hour he felt wrong. By evening he was dying. He knew immediately what had happened. The poison was too specific, too targeted. Someone had betrayed him. He sent a message to Nixara, but it was intercepted. Raxvin found him before the Queen could arrive. The medical officer smiled as he watched Kael'vor die. "Nothing personal," Raxvin said, "but you're too good at uniting people. We Vryn are conquerors, not diplomats. We need a queen who understands that. One we can guide properly." Kael'vor tried to respond, but his voice was gone. His last thought was of Nixara. He hoped she would be strong. Hoped she would survive. Hoped somehow, someday, they would meet again. Taemin pulled free from the memory with a gasp. Blood ran from his nose. Dayan caught him as he swayed. "Did you get it?" Nixara asked urgently. "All of it," Taemin said. "Raxvin poisoned him. Admitted it while Kael'vor died. The memory is clear. Can we extract it? Show it to others?" Vextil asked. Dr. Shanira worked quickly with the crystal. "Yes, the memory is intact. I can project it for the council to see." "Then we have our proof," Nixara said. She looked at Taemin with something like pride. "You did it. You found what I've been searching for 300 years. We did it together," Taemin corrected. Just like always. He realized what he'd said too late. That was Kael'vor talking, the casual way he and Nixara used to work as a team. But Nixara didn't correct him. She just smiled, a real smile that lit up her whole face. "Yes," she said softly. "Just like always." Commander Vextil interrupted the moment. "My queen, if we're going to present this at the Grand Council, we need allies. Thexan will not go down easily. Contact the human fleet," Nixara said. "Request a meeting with Admiral Yijun. If we're exposing a conspiracy that nearly started a war, humanity deserves to be part of it." Over the next 2 days, they prepared. Admiral Yijun arrived with a small fleet, surprised by the invitation but intrigued. Taemin briefed him on everything, and the admiral listened with growing anger. "They killed your crew to start a war," Yijun said. "Jiwoo Haru, Ambassador Kyungsu, all of them died for Thexan's ambition." "Yes, sir," Taemin said. "And he'll kill more if we don't stop him." "Then we stop him," Yijun said firmly. "What do you need from us?"
Testimony, Nixara said.
"Evidence that humans were attacked by conspirators, not official Vryn forces. Your presence at the council will prove we're working together, not against each other." "You'll have it," Yijun promised. "And Captain." "Yes, sir? I don't understand half of what's happening with you in this memory crystal business. But I know you. You're a good officer and a better man. Whatever you've become, don't lose sight of that." Vryn Prime was beautiful in a terrifying way. The planet's surface was covered in massive structures that looked like they had grown instead of being built. Towers that reached into the clouds, connected by bridges that shimmered with energy. Millions of Vryn moved through the city, and all of them stopped to watch when the human ships arrived. Taemin stood on the bridge of Admiral Yijun's flagship, watching the planet grow larger. Taeyun stood beside him, looking nervous. "I've never seen so many of them in one place," she said quietly. "Neither have I," Taemin admitted. According to Kael'vor's memories, the last time humans and Vryn gathered together was never. "We're making history. Or starting a war," Daun said. "Hopefully not." The Grand Council chamber was massive. Hundreds of Vryn nobles filled the space, their armor reflecting light in a dizzying display of colors. Regional queens sat in places of honor, each commanding their own section of the empire. Military commanders stood in formation, ready for orders. And in the center, elevated above everyone else, sat Queen Nixara on her throne. Counselor Thexan stood before her, addressing the assembly. He was older than most Vryn, his armor decorated with symbols of rank and achievement. When he spoke, his voice carried authority. "Fellow Vryn," Thexan said, "we face a crisis. Our queen, whom we have served faithfully for 8 centuries, has been compromised. She harbors a human in our midst, grants him access to our most sacred sites, and claims he carries the soul of King Consort Kael'vor. Murmurs spread through the chamber. Some sounded shocked, others angry. This human has used unknown technology to manipulate our queen's emotions, Thexan continued. He pretends to have memories he cannot possess. He seeks to control the Vryn Empire through deception. That's a lie, Commander Vextil said, stepping forward. I served under Calvor. I know his mannerisms, his way of thinking. This human carries his essence. Or mimics it well, Thexan countered. Commander, with respect, your loyalty to the past blinds you to present dangers. Humans are clever. They could have studied our records, learned about Calvor, and trained this one to play the part. Admiral Yi Jun entered the chamber with his officers. The Vryn guards tensed, but Nixara gestured for them to allow it. The human delegation approached the center, and Yi Jun bowed formally to the Queen. Admiral Yi Jun of the Human Federation, Nixara said, welcome to the Grand Council. You have testimony to share? I do, Your Majesty, Yi Jun said. He pulled up holographic displays showing the attack on Taemin's convoy. 3 of my officers were killed in an unprovoked attack by ships using Vryn identification codes. We traced those codes to the 3rd Expansion Fleet, under command of Counselor Thexan's family line. Circumstantial evidence, Thexan said dismissively. Those codes were stolen years ago. Anyone could have used them. Then explain this, Dr. Shanira said, stepping forward. She projected genetic data for the whole council to see. Humans share significant genetic markers with the Ashari, Calvor's people. The connection is undeniable. This human, Taemin, carries the highest concentration of Ashari genetics we've ever documented. Interesting, one of the regional queens said. But genetics don't explain memories. No, Nixara said. They don't, which is why we will let you see for yourselves. She gestured to Taemin. He walked to the center of the chamber, feeling hundreds of eyes on him. Some curious, some hostile, all judging. I challenge Commander Vextil to an honor duel, Taemin said clearly. First blood. Traditional rules. The chamber erupted in shocked sounds. Humans didn't issue honor duels. They didn't know the forms, the techniques, the sacred nature of the combat. Impossible, Thexan laughed. He doesn't even know how to hold a blade staff. Let him try, Vextil said. The old commander looked at Taemin with something like pride. I accept the challenge. The crowd moved back, forming a circle. Attendants brought 2 blade staffs, weapons that were half spear and half sword. Vextil took his with practiced ease. Taemin held his, and his hands moved into the proper grip without thinking. Calvor's training was there in his muscles and bones. The old king consort had been a master of this weapon, had trained for decades to match Vryn's speed and strength with human agility and cunning. The duel began. Vextil attacked first, testing Taemin's defense. The blade staff moved faster than Daun could follow, but Taemin blocked it. Not just blocked it, but redirected it with a technique that was 300 years old. The commander's eyes widened. He recognized that move. He pressed harder, using combinations he'd learned from Calvor himself. Taemin countered each one, matching the old warrior's speed and skill. They fought across the chamber floor, blade staffs clashing in patterns that were beautiful and deadly. Taemin didn't just fight like someone trained in Vryn combat. He fought like Calvor, with the exact style and flair that had made the Ashari king legendary. Then Taemin saw his opening. Vextil left his right side exposed for just a moment, a test. In a real fight, it would be a trap. But this wasn't a real fight. This was a lesson. Taemin struck with precision, his blade drawing a thin line across Vextil's arm. First blood. The duel was over, but Taemin didn't celebrate. Instead, he lowered his weapon and extended his hand to help Vextil up. The gesture was pure Calvor, the exact mercy he had shown centuries ago. Commander Vextil stared at that offered hand. Then slowly he knelt. My king, he said quietly. You've returned. The chamber went silent. A Vryn commander had just knelt before a human, had acknowledged him as royalty. The implications were enormous. I'm not Calvor, Taemin said, helping Vextil stand, but I carry his memories, his skills, his love for the Vryn people. I'm something new, something that bridges past and future. Tricks, Thexan said, but his voice lacked conviction. Trained movements. Nothing more. Then explain this, Nixara said. She activated the memory crystal, projecting Calvor's final moments for everyone to see. The chamber watched in silence as the memory played. Calvor in the strategy meeting, Medical Officer Raxvan offering the poisoned drink. Kael'vor dying while Raxvin admitted to murder, the conspiracy laid bare for all to see. When the memory ended, the silence was absolute. That's your great-grandfather, Nixara said to Thexan, confessing to regicide, to murdering the king consort. Those memories are fabricated, Thexan said desperately. Easy to fake with modern technology. Memory crystals cannot be altered, Dr. Shanira said. It's literally impossible with our technology. What you saw was real. Preserved for 300 years in crystal form. Thexan, one of the regional queens, said, Is this true? Did your family kill Kael'vor? They did, Nixara said. And Thexan has continued their work. He orchestrated the attack on the human convoy trying to start a war. When that failed, he called this council to discredit me. All part of a plan to seize the throne. Lies! Thexan shouted. I am loyal to the Empire. Then why? Commander Vextil said quietly. Do you have 3 assassination teams positioned around the palace? Teams I discovered this morning, all under your command? Guards moved forward, surrounding Thexan. His supporters in the crowd looked uncertain now, backing away from association with him. The penalty for conspiracy against the throne is death, Nixara said. The penalty for regicide, even by proxy through one's ancestors, is the same. Does anyone dispute this judgment? No one spoke. Thexan had no allies left, but Taemin stepped forward. Wait, everyone looked at him in surprise. There's another option, Taemin said. An ancient precedent called the right of redemption. Instead of execution, the guilty party and their supporters serve the Empire in humanitarian work. They spend their lives building instead of destroying, helping instead of harming. That's a mercy they don't deserve, Admiral Yijun said. Maybe not, Taemin agreed, but executing them creates martyrs, forces them to serve, creates reluctant allies. Which is more useful to the Empire? Nixara studied him carefully. That's very Kael'vor of you. Is it working? She almost smiled. Yes. To the council, she said, Taemin speaks with wisdom. Thexan and his conspirators will be stripped of rank and property. They will serve the Empire's humanitarian efforts for the remainder of their lives. Any who refuse will face traditional punishment. I refuse, Thexan said defiantly. I will not. Then you will be executed at dawn, Nixara said coldly. Anyone else? The other conspirators quickly agreed to serve. Thexan was led away, still shouting about injustice. With the conspiracy exposed, the council turned to other matters. The relationship between humans and Vryn, the genetic connection between their peoples, and most importantly, what to do about Taemin. The evidence suggests Captain Taemin carries Kael'vor's essence, one of the regional queens said. By ancient law, one who carries a deceased king's essence may claim the right of soul bond. The soul bond hasn't been performed in 3 centuries, another queen pointed out. The ritual is dangerous. It could kill them both. What is this soul bond? Admiral Yijun asked. A merging of life forces, Dr. Shanira explained. The queen and her consort become linked on a genetic and spiritual level. Their lifespans synchronize. They share emotions and thoughts. It's the deepest connection possible between 2 beings. And if Taemin accepts, Nixara said quietly, he becomes king consort, co-ruler of the Vryn Empire. His human life ends, replaced by something new. That's a heavy burden, Yijun said. The preparation chamber was quiet, too quiet. Taemin sat on a bench that adjusted to his body, wearing ceremonial robes that felt foreign on his skin. In 3 hours, the soul bond ritual would begin. In 3 hours, he would stop being fully human. Dayun entered, carrying a tray of food. Dr. Shanira says you should eat. The ritual requires a lot of energy. Taemin tried to eat but couldn't taste anything. His hands were shaking slightly. Am I making a mistake? I don't know, Dayun said honestly. She sat beside him. Sir, I've served with you for 2 years. I've seen you lead men into impossible situations. You never hesitate. Why now? Because those decisions only affected me, Taemin said. This affects everyone, humanity, the Vryn Empire, the balance of power in the galaxy. He set down the food. What if I'm not strong enough for this? Kael'vor was strong enough. I'm not Kael'vor. No, Dayun agreed. You're better. You're Taemin with Kael'vor's wisdom. That combination might be exactly what everyone needs. Admiral Yijun arrived next, his expression serious. Captain, I need to ask you something. Is this what you want? Or is this Kael'vor's influence? Both, Taemin said. And neither. It's complicated. Uncomplicated for me. Taemin thought for a moment. Kaelvor's memories show me what this bond means. The depth of connection, the responsibility, the sacrifice. Without those memories, I'd be going in blind. But the decision to proceed? That's all me. Taemin, the human who lost his family and spent 5 years trying to prevent war. This is how I finished that mission. Yijun nodded slowly. Then you have my blessing. And my support. Whatever you need from humanity, you'll have it. Thank you, sir. Just remember where you came from, Yijun said. Don't let them change you completely. Commander Vextil escorted Taemin to the ritual chamber. The old warrior hadn't spoken much since the duel, but now he broke his silence. I watched Kaelvor go through this 800 years ago, Vextil said. He was terrified too. Spent the whole morning before the ritual throwing up. That made Taemin feel slightly better. What did you tell him? That fear was proof he understood what he was doing. That bravery isn't the absence of fear. It's doing what's right despite being afraid. Vextil paused. He made me promise something that day. If he ever returned in whatever form, I should make sure he remembered why he chose this path. Why did he choose it? Because unity between species was worth any personal cost. Because Nyxara needed someone who could stand beside her, not behind her. And because he loved her more than he feared death? Vextil looked at Taemin directly. Do you have those same reasons? Yes, Taemin said without hesitation. All of them. Then you'll be fine. The ritual chamber was ancient, carved from living crystal that pulsed with soft light. Nyxara was already there, wearing white robes instead of her usual armor. She looked younger somehow, vulnerable. Dr. Shenira explained the process while technicians prepared equipment. The soul bond works by synchronizing your genetic codes at the quantum level. We'll use the royal crystals as a catalyst. Your DNA will be altered, Taemin, incorporating Vryn traits. Your lifespan will extend to match Nyxara's. You'll develop low-level telepathic abilities limited to each other. And the risks? Taemin asked. Death, Shenira said bluntly. Your body might reject the changes, or the synchronization might cause cascade failures in both of you. Historically, 1 in 10 soul bond rituals ends in death for both participants. Why didn't anyone mention that before? Dayun asked, alarmed. Because the decision was already made, Nyxara said calmly. And because fear of death shouldn't stop us from living fully. The ritual began at sunset. Taemin and Nyxara stood in the center of the crystal chamber while the council watched from behind protective barriers. Energy built in the air, making Taemin's hair stand on end. Once we begin, we can't stop, Nyxara said. If you have doubts, speak now. No doubts, Taemin said. Let's do this. Dr. Shenira activated the crystals. Light exploded through the chamber, piercing both Taemin and Nyxara. Pain followed immediately, worse than anything Taemin had ever felt. His body was being rebuilt from the inside out, cells rewriting themselves according to new instructions. He screamed. Couldn't help it. The pain was too much. Then he felt Nyxara in his mind. Not words, but emotions. Her fear for him. Her determination to see this through. Her strength flowing into him when his own wasn't enough. He pushed back, sharing his own strength. Two minds working as one, supporting each other through the transformation. Hours passed, or maybe minutes. Time lost meaning in the pain. Taemin felt his body changing, his heart rate slowing to match Vryn rhythms, his eyes developing new layers of vision, his bones becoming denser, stronger. But something was wrong. The changes were happening too fast, burning through his energy reserves. He was dying. Nyxara felt it too, felt him slipping away. And she made a choice. She pushed her own life force into him, channeling 800 years of accumulated power through their bond, sustaining him when his body wanted to give up. Don't you dare die, she said, and he heard it both aloud and in his mind. Not when we've just found each other again. I'm not going anywhere, Taemin managed to say. The ritual peaked, light so bright everyone had to look away. When it faded, both Taemin and Nyxara collapsed to the floor. Dr. Shenira rushed forward with medical equipment. She scanned them both rapidly. They're alive, stable. The bond took. Taemin opened his eyes and immediately knew something was different. He could see more colors than before, perceive energy patterns invisible to humans, and he could feel Nyxara in the back of his mind, exhausted but alive. Did it work? He asked, his voice hoarse. See for yourself, Shenira said, holding up a mirror. Taemin's appearance had changed slightly. His eyes had a faint prismatic quality, reflecting light like Vryn compound eyes. His skin had taken on a subtle shimmer. He was still recognizably human but touched by something else. Nyxara stirred beside him. He helped her sit up and they looked at each other for the first time through their new bond. The connection was staggering. He could feel her relief, her joy, her lingering fear that this might be a dream. "It's real," he said aloud, answering her unspoken worry. "I know," she replied. "I can feel you too." They stayed in the medical bay for 3 days, recovering while their bodies adjusted to the changes. The council waited impatiently for them to emerge and take up their new roles. On the 4th day, Taemin stood before a mirror in his new quarters. He wore formal robes marked with both human and Vryn symbols. "The king consort's regalia, how do you feel?" Dawan asked. She had been allowed to stay with him, though other humans had been sent back to the fleet. "Different," Taemin said. "Stronger. I can feel Nyxara even when she's on the other side of the palace. Know what she's feeling, thinking." He paused. "It's amazing and terrifying. Do you regret it?" "No." He was surprised to realize that was true. "This feels right. Like I'm finally where I'm supposed to be." His first act as king consort was establishing the dual citizenship accord. Humans and Vryn could now live in each other's territories with full rights. Trade routes opened. Cultural exchanges began. The species that had nearly gone to war were now learning to be partners. His second act was harder. He reorganized the Vryn military from a conquest force into a defensive alliance. Many old commanders resisted, seeing it as weakness. But with Commander Vextil's support and Nyxara's authority, the changes went through. "We're not conquerors anymore," Taemin told the assembled military leaders. "We're protectors. There's a difference." Soft words from a human, one commander muttered. "Maybe," Taemin agreed, "but I've seen what conquest costs. The family's destroyed, the hatred it breeds. If we're as strong as we claim, we can afford to be merciful." The commander who had spoken looked thoughtful. Others nodded slowly. Change would take time, but it was starting. A week into his new role, alerts blared through the palace. Ships had appeared at the edge of Vryn space. Not human ships, not anything in their databases. Taemin rushed to the command center where Nyxara was already studying the sensor data. Through their bond, he felt her concern before she spoke. "What are we looking at?" he asked. "Unknown vessels," Commander Vextil reported. "Hundreds of them. They're not responding to communications, and they're heading straight for human colony worlds." The ships on screen were strange, geometric, and cold. They moved with perfect precision, like machines. Taemin felt something stir in Kael'vor's memories. A deep primal fear. "No, it can't be." "What?" Nyxara asked. "The Devourers," Taemin said, the old memories flooding back. "The machine intelligence that destroyed the Ashari homeworld. They're real, and they've found us." The sensor officer's voice shook. "My king, their first target is the human colony New Sol. 50 million people." "How long until they reach it?" Taemin demanded. 36 hours. Taemin looked at Nyxara. Through their bond, they didn't need words. They both knew what had to be done. "Gather the fleet," Nyxara ordered. "All available ships. Human and Vryn, we have a colony to defend." "Against that many ships?" Vextil asked. "We're outnumbered 10 to 1. "Then we'd better be clever," Taemin said. "Send a message to Admiral Yi Jun. Tell him we're coming to help. And someone find me the combined fleet assembled in record time." Vryn dreadnoughts flew alongside human carriers. An alliance that would have been impossible just weeks ago. Taemin stood on the bridge of the flagship with Nyxara, watching the tactical displays show their forces against the Devourer swarm. The numbers weren't good. 300 allied ships against 3,000 Devourers, Commander Vextil said. "Even with our advantage in weapons technology, we'll be overwhelmed." "Not if we use the quantum resonance weapon," Taemin said. He had spent 2 days studying Kael'vor's memories of ancient Ashari technology. The Ashari built a weapon specifically designed to disable machine intelligence. It worked before. Dr. Shenira pulled up schematics on the display. "The weapon exists. We have it in our archives, preserved from when Kael'vor brought the technology to us. But it was never fully tested. And activating it requires someone with Ashari genetic markers to channel the energy." "Me," Taemin said. "The energy flow will be massive," Shenira warned. "Even with your enhanced body, it could kill you." Through their bond, Taemin felt Nyxara's immediate spike of fear. She gripped his arm. "There has to be another way." "There isn't," Taemin said gently. "New Sol has 50 million people. Children, families, people like mine were before they died. I can't let that happen again. The soul bond links us, Nixara said. If the weapon kills you, I'll feel it as if I'm dying too. Maybe worse. I know, Taemin said. But you'll survive. You're strong enough. I don't want to be, Nixara said quietly. Admiral Yijun's image appeared on the communication screen. The human fleet had reached New Seoul and was setting up defensive positions. Captain, the colony is evacuating, but there's no time to get everyone off-world. We need that weapon working in 20 hours or this becomes a massacre. It'll be ready, Taemin promised. The next hours were chaos. Engineers worked to install the quantum resonance weapon on the flagship. Dr. Shanira ran simulations, trying to find a way to reduce the energy load on Taemin. Dahyun stuck close, her medical training on standby. Sir, if you die from this, I'm never forgiving you, Dahyun said while checking his vital signs. Fair enough, Taemin said. Nixara barely spoke. Taemin could feel her emotions through their bond. Fear, anger, helplessness. She was queen of 47 star systems, commanded the most powerful military in the galaxy, and couldn't protect the one person who mattered most. Finally, she pulled him aside into a private chamber. Don't do this. We've been over this. I know the reasons, Nixara interrupted. I know about the colony, the people, the greater good. But Taemin, I just found you. The universe gave you back to me after 300 years. I can't lose you again. You won't, Taemin said, though he wasn't sure if that was true. Kael'vor said the same thing before he died the first time, Nixara said. Her voice broke slightly. He promised we'd have more time. We didn't. Taemin pulled her close as he could with their different body sizes. Kael'vor died to save you. I'm doing this to save millions of people. That's different. Not from where I'm standing. They stayed like that for a long moment. Then Nixara straightened, her royal composure returning. If you're going to do this, I'm staying with you. The bond works both ways. My life force sustained you during the ritual. It can sustain you through this. That could kill you too. Then we die together, Nixara said simply. I've lived 800 years. I'm done living without you. It's not up for debate, Nixara said with absolute authority. I am queen. This is my command. The fleet dropped out of hyperspace near New Seoul just as the Devourers arrived. The enemy ships spread out in perfect geometric formation, beginning their attack on the colony world. All ships, defensive positions, Admiral Yijun ordered over fleet communications. By the flagship, time to activate the weapon. The battle began. Human and Vryn ships fought side by side, their weapons lighting up the darkness of space. The Devourers responded with cold efficiency, their weapons cutting through shields and armor. On the flagship bridge, Taemin was strapped into the weapons control chair, cables connected to neural ports that had been installed during his transformation. Nixara stood beside him, her own ports connected to his system. Weapon charging, Dr. Shin'ira announced. Energy levels rising. Taemin felt the power building. It started as a tingle, then became a burn. His Ashari genetics activated. Recognizing the ancient technology, the weapon was designed to sync with his specific genetic markers, using his body as a conduit. Energy at 30%, Shanira said. Taemin's vitals are holding steady. The weapon pulled more power. Taemin's hands clenched on the armrests. The burn became pain spreading through his nervous system. 50%. His heart rate is increasing. Outside, the battle raged. A Vryn dreadnought exploded, taking 3 Devourer ships with it. Human fighters swarmed enemy vessels, their pilots buying time with their lives. 70%. Taemin, your body is starting to fail. Dahyun watched the medical readouts with growing alarm. His cells are breaking down. The energy is too much. I can handle it, Taemin managed to say through gritted teeth. Nixara gripped his hand. Through their bond, she pushed her own life force into him. 800 years of accumulated power, flowing from her to him. His vitals stabilized. 85%, Shanira said. Almost there. My queen, your life signs are dropping, Vextil said urgently. You're giving too much. I'm giving what's needed, Nixara said. Her voice was strained but determined. 95%, Shanira announced. Weapon ready to fire in 10 seconds. Taemin could barely see through the pain. Every cell in his body felt like it was on fire. But through it all, he felt Nixara with him. Her strength, her love, her absolute refusal to let him face this alone. 100%, Shanira said. Firing now, Taemin screamed as the weapon released. A pulse of quantum energy exploded from the flagship, spreading in all directions. It passed through the Allied ships harmlessly, but hit the Devourers like a hammer. The machine intelligence ships stopped. Their systems overloaded. Unable to process the quantum disruption, one by one they went dark and drifted helplessly in space. 3,000 enemy ships disabled in an instant. The Allied fleet erupted in cheers. They had won. New Sol was saved, but on the flagship bridge, Taman collapsed. The weapon had drained everything from him. His heart stopped. His brain shut down. He was dying. Nixara felt it through their bond, felt him slipping away, and she did the only thing she could. She poured more of herself into him, refusing to let death take him. "No," she said fiercely. "You don't get to leave me." "Not again." "Not ever." Dayun worked frantically with medical equipment trying to restart his heart. Dr. Shanira administered drugs that should have been toxic, but were the only chance he had. Through it all, Nixara held on. Gave him everything she had. The bond between them glowed with power, visible to everyone on the bridge as pure white light. Then impossibly Taman gasped. His heart restarted. His eyes opened. "I told you," he whispered weakly. "I wasn't going anywhere." Nixara laughed and cried at the same time, a sound no one had ever heard from her before. "You're insufferable. You love it." "I really do." They both survived barely. Spent 3 weeks in medical recovery while the galaxy celebrated their victory. The Devourers were contained, their threat eliminated. The alliance between humans and Vryn was cemented in battle, stronger than any treaty could make it. When Taman finally left medical, he found the political landscape had changed. The Vryn Empire was now the Vryn Commonwealth, with elected councils instead of absolute monarchy. Nixara remained queen, but shared power with representatives from all member worlds, including human colonies. "You did this," Taman said, reading the new charter. "We did this," Nixara corrected. "Your idea is my implementation. That's how we work best." 5 years passed. 5 years of building, growing, and learning. 20 new species joined the reformed coalition. Trade flourished. Cultural exchanges became common. The alliance that started with one crashed ship became a model for the entire galaxy. Taman and Nixara stood on a balcony of the Unity Palace on Earth, watching the sun set over an ocean. They came here once a year, a tradition Taman insisted on to remember where he came from. "Do you ever regret it?" Nixara asked. "Giving up your human life?" "No," Taman said. "Though I miss some things. Coffee tastes different now, and I can't binge watch old movies anymore because my enhanced eyes make the frame rate annoying." Nixara laughed. "Such sacrifices. What about you? Do you regret the soul bond?" "Every day," Nixara said. Then at his shocked look, she smiled. "I regret that we didn't do it 300 years earlier. We wasted so much time. We couldn't have done it earlier. I wasn't born yet." Details. Dayun approached, now wearing the insignia of a fleet captain. "Sorry to interrupt, but we're needed at the ceremony." The Unity Summit was beginning. Representatives from across the galaxy gathered to celebrate 5 years of peace. Taman and Nixara took their places at the center, the living symbols of what cooperation could achieve. Admiral Yi Jun spoke first, his hair grayer but his voice still strong. 5 years ago, we almost went to war. One man's crash landing changed everything. Captain Taman showed us that our differences make us stronger,